These flies in this tube are being prepared for a form of warfare that doesn't involve toxic chemicals. Modern biological control avoids the messy contamination of groundwater or the problem of pests evolving immunity to poisons. Instead, it turns the target's own reproductive drive into a weapon of total extermination. This diagram shows the process in action. When thousands of sterilized males are released into a wild population, they compete for mates just as effectively as healthy ones. But because those pairings produce no offspring, the next generation branch on this chart instantly disappears. Repeat the cycle twice, and the entire population breeds itself into extinction. In Colombia, a scientist named Alan is applying this exact sabotage to the canefly. It's a parasite that leaves agonizing larvae in the nasal passages of local children, and Alan is convinced that by finding the weak link in the fly's mating cycle, he is securing a safer future for humanity. Alan's work relies on a simple observation: a superior intelligence can wipe out a lesser species by weaponizing its strongest biological instinct. If a human scientist can engineer the collapse of a parasite, we are equally susceptible to a higher cosmic intelligence applying that same blueprint to us. We tend to view our skyscrapers and scientific grants as evidence that we have transcended the natural order. We act as managers of the planet, yet our core biology, the neurological wiring that drives our species to reproduce, remains an exposed vulnerability. The crisis begins in the letters Alan receives from his wife, Anne. She describes a sudden, terrifying wave of localized massacres, specifically targeting women. While the media initially labels the violence as a form of contagious cultural hysteria, the patterns in the data suggest something far more calculated. Typical hysteria spread through human contact points like airports or trade hubs. These outbreaks are different. They appear in specific global clusters, skipping over major cities to strike seemingly random locations like Pedesville, Georgia, and rural India simultaneously. Dr. Barney Braithwaite, an expert in insect pheromones, is the first to realize that these violent clusters are not random. By mapping the reports, he finds a perfect geographic alignment between every single outbreak. This map tracks the initial outbreaks, showing them locked on to the 30th parallel north and south. This is a critical meteorological corridor. It's where upper atmospheric winds, originating at the equator, finally descend and touch the Earth's surface. The intertropical convergence zone acts as a global conveyor belt for an unseen agent. This geographic data proves the violence is being carried in the upper atmosphere and dropped directly onto the populations living beneath these specific downflow zones. The violence isn't a social phenomenon. It is a meticulously deployed airborne pesticide. We are seeing a targeted planetary distribution designed to reach every corner of the human breeding population. Professor McIntyre's research highlights the specific biological flaw being exploited. In male primates, the neurological pathways for predatory aggression and sexual arousal are closely linked, sharing similar states of physical excitement. This flowchart models how the alien agent manipulates that link. Usually, an inhibitor ensures that sexual arousal leads to mating. The pathogen acts like a severed wire, removing that inhibitor so that all sexual stimulation is routed directly into the red attack output. The drive to reproduce is physically transformed into the drive to kill. Unlike victims of a typical viral infection, these men retain their full cognitive function. They are not mindless. They are rational, intelligent men who simply find that their deepest physical urges have been recalibrated toward violence. This retention of intellect allows for a chilling level of coordination. Groups like the Sons of Adam quickly form to rationalize the killings. They distribute tracts like "Man listens to God," arguing that slaughtering women is a divine mandate to purify the earth of its animal parts. Our ability to create complex ideologies ensures the eradication proceeds with maximum efficiency. Men like Sergeant Muse don't see themselves as sick, they see themselves as holy soldiers. By inventing religions to justify a biological malfunction, our own intelligence becomes the mechanism that accelerates our self-destruction. Alan's scientific understanding cannot protect him from the agent in his own blood. While waiting for a flight to see his family, he realizes his anticipation of a reunion has warped into a vivid, physical fantasy of murder. He stares at his own hands, realizing he has become the very thing he was studying in Columbia. Despite his frantic attempts to isolate himself in a lab, Alan's biology overrides his will. When his daughter Amy approaches him, he kills her, leaving behind a final note describing the terrible rightness of the urge before taking his own life. The narrative ends with Anne, now a feral survivor hiding in a Canadian swamp. She has watched her civilization vanish in a matter of months, replaced by liberated zones where the last remaining men hunt the last remaining women. From her hiding spot, Anne watches a massive, shimmering entity move through the trees. It is calm and methodical, bending down to examine the ground and collecting biological samples in an invisible pocket. The cults believed these figures were angels arriving to witness a holy purification. Anne sees the truth. This is an alien real estate agent quietly assessing a property that has just been cleared of its previous tenants. Surgical extermination through biological sabotage leaves the planet's infrastructure and resources perfectly intact. We are biological machines with an exposed weak link, easily manipulated by any higher intelligence looking to remove the pests.